Good evening, beautiful people. Thank you for coming in. You are listening to Dr. Eve. Welcome to my channel. And I pray that you are still able to hear me because I am having to turn down the sound just to make sure that I'm not getting an echo. Um, it seems every time I do this on a different computer, there's a different set of challenges. But anyway, I didn't want the night to go by without me fulfilling the challenge of this moment of developing our story. And last night, the question or the homework for last night was to uh, identify your earliest moments with your mother and your earliest moments with your father. So, in essence, your earliest moments with your parents. These questions and prompts are designed to help you begin to depict and write about, reflect on, and write your story, your narrative, whatever that looks like for you. We are also very mindful that sometimes when we reflect on stories that they will show us things that maybe we aren't all that comfortable with. So if at any point you feel like thinking on those things may trigger you in that moment, then please, by all means, find your closest loved one, your spouse, a good friend, maybe even a therapist to share what you're thinking and feeling in that moment because we do realize that all stories aren't always, stories we want to remember. Why are they important though to reflect? And it's important to reflect because a lot of times we can selectively remember things and or either we decide we want to not think about certain parts of our lives and um, but it's a part of the healing journey. It's a part of the our ability to be well holistically, physically, mentally, socially, financially, spiritually, in all the ways. For those of you who don't know me, again, I'm Dr. Eve. I'm a community health and human service educator, and I really focus on uh, well being as the highest form of equity, the highest form of equity. So, thank you all for coming in, and let's get down to it. So, when I ask myself this question, what do I, what do I, what are my earliest moments? What are my earliest moments that I remember about my mom and my dad? So I thought about this long and hard because, like, what is the earliest time that I can reflect? The earliest time that I can remember, because I'm real good at pictures, and I don't have a lot of pictures from when I was a young baby, because I was premature. So there weren't a lot of pictures. Um, but the earliest memory that I have is of my mom, who was such a beautiful human being. And there were, at that time, there were four of us. There was my brother, my oldest brother, who was 9 months older than me. Oh, there was three of us, 9 months older than me, and my younger brother, who was 9 months. younger than me. She had three in diapers. Now, I don't really remember those days, but I do remember being around 3.5, maybe 3.5, 4 years old. And she used to dress me in these really pretty, pretty, pretty little dresses. And this particular day, I had on a corduroy blue dress with, it was one of those, overhaul dresses, overhaul dresses, beautiful blue corduroy. Y'all know, by the way, blue is one of my favorite colors. And a white, starchy little round collared shirt with short sleeves. And I remember her um, washing. There's this washboard. I don't know if you remember the old washboards where you had the washing machine. Our washing machine was upstairs for some reason, which was very interesting. The washing machine was upstairs, closest to the tub for some reason, and I know that there was a some rationale behind that. But we had one of those washing machines where it had the uh, wringer on it. You had to the clothes would the clothes you would wash the clothes, and then you would put the clothes through this wringer like it was a roller that would wring the clothes out. And um, I remember her leaving me that day. I remember her going somewhere and she left me with my cousin, and I didn't really like that all that much. And I remember hiding because I was very, very, very much an introvert. And I remember just waiting for her to come back, and I would not move from behind. I would not move from that old washboard washing machine. I just waited there and waited and waited and waited until my mom came back. She went to run an errand, and I didn't really like her leaving me. And that's what I actually remember, like really remember. And I think I really remember that because I actually have a picture of it. Actually have a picture of me in that dress. I actually have, uh, yeah, and I was about 3. I want to say I was 3. Yeah, I was about 3. My earliest moments of my dad was always his big smile. My dad was a real charmer. Um, he was just a real charismatic, real charmer. And you don't know a whole lot when you're that little, but you can remember things like their attributes, attributes like his character and those attributes about him, and it was his smile. My dad was known for being this very charismatic guy who believed that he was the sweetest man in the world. He said that all his life. It's Sweet Charles. They called him Sweet Charles. At any rate, those were the earliest moments. I'm going to leave it there because ooh, I know I said what was the earliest moment that you remember about your parents. And so I don't want to go into other areas um, because I really just want to stick to the questions. Now, mind you, um, there are probably, you could really write a narrative just from those first moments that you remember about your parents. Even if it is, the setting when I reflect on the memory of my mom. We lived at that time um, in North Philadelphia. We didn't live there very long because my dad and mom bought a home in West Oak Lane. But we lived in North Philadelphia for a while. I was 3, like I said, I was about 3. Mommy was really going through some things. from what she told me, but that's not what I remember. Um, and it was a two-story home. Houses in Philadelphia were always next to each other unless you lived in those communities where there were uh, suburban area where there were single family homes that were not adjacent to one another. Um, and that's where we lived in North Philadelphia in a two-story, three-bedroom home. Um, let's see, what else do I remember? Not a lot. We were really sheltered. We were really sheltered. Like I said, I was three. My brothers and I were 9 months apart. So there you go. So my youngest brother, he wasn't there either. But neither of my brothers were there. I wonder where my brothers were that day. My brothers weren't there. My dad wasn't there. I wasn't there. She left me there with my cousin. I didn't like being left there with my cousin, so I went and hid behind um that wash on that second floor and hid behind that next to that washer, and I stayed there, kept peeping from behind the washing machine. I do distinctly remember that. Do distinctly. I distinctly remember that. And again, the setting was Philadelphia. The events, usually when you're talking about a story, you're talking about the the plot, your characters, your setting. Pardon me, y'all. I am sleepy, but I just had to get on here and do this because it was necessary to stick to my schedule. So there's the story, your settings, your plot, which is your events, your problem, and your solution, or your conflict and your solution. Now, there didn't necessarily have to be a conflict, but there was a conflict. I didn't like being left. That was the conflict in the story now. But the story was the prompt was really all about what are your earliest childhood memory of your mother and your father, which is your parents. um, but you see how you can write a whole story from just answering a prompt, your earliest memory, and you can go into an in-depth story, one that gives your reader um, the where you live, the a visual, like movie genic visual of where you live. Like it was, paved roads, paved street with cars, parked parallel. There was the neighborhood was essentially um, homes on both sides of the road. But however, those streets were always, they seem like they should have been one ways, but they were actually two ways. I don't see how that was possible, but that was the way it was. Um, and our home, we had a porch. We had a porch with black wrought on rails. Um, some porches had furniture on them, some did not. I guess in some neighborhoods you just didn't put furniture on it because you might not have it when you get up in the morning. But I guess that it was a real thing. But when we moved out of that area and into the new home that we our parents bought, we didn't have that problem. We did in fact have furniture. And what else do I remember about it? Again, we lived in a two-story home, hardwood floors, very it was modern for that time. It was modern for that time, y'all. Vinyl, you know, that was 60s, in the 60s, y'all. So y'all can about imagine what those utilities were like and what the appliances and furniture of that time was like. It was good for that time, right? Um, But again, you know, that the biggest thing I really, really remember is that washing machine. The washing machine was at the top of the stairs and right next to the bathroom. And it was one of those old fashioned rollers with the spinners on top. And now, mind you, my brother's hand got stuck in that one time. I do remember that. Now I'm going off topic because my brother's hand got stuck and he tried that thing one day. This is what children will do. This is what children will do. And he tried putting his hand, and he did. He hurt himself putting his hand through that spinner. Really messed up his fingers. Um, but at any rate, that's what I remember most about the home, the where we lived, the area, the house we lived in, the moment in time, that washing machine that I and of course, you know, me in that blue corduroy dress with little plaits on my head. And I was at that time, I was a thumb sucker too, you know, so I will pacify off of my thumb because that was my bonding mechanism. Because I actually stayed I never really bonded with my parents. I stayed in the hospital for a very, very, very long time because I was premature. And that can, you know, children find ways to pacify themselves. And I think that was one of mine. At any rate, that's the story tonight. I hope you wrote your story. What are your earliest memories of your parents? I hope that you wrote your story. This is the beginning of our podcast here. I named it one thing, but I'm still trying to figure out the name. So in the moment, we're going with the theme, touch one life, touch millions. And hopefully, maybe we can do just that because that is my commission in the moment is to love on God's people and to embrace them and teach what I know, the love of God, and help to encourage others to be the very best versions of themselves. And so I'm really, really excited to be on this journey with you. And today, again, we are talking about what are your earliest memories of your parents. Now, let's see what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to. Okay, this is a good one. This is a really good one. What pets did you have in your household growing up? Oh, wow, this is going to be good because this is a whole story about pets. How big a part of your life were they? So, we're talking about pets tomorrow. What pets did you have in your household growing up, and how big a part of your life were they? All right. So that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, folks. Hope you can join us here tomorrow. Um, if you subscribe, you'll get a notification that we are live. And that way you won't have to like fill out a form or anything like that. But just please subscribe. Why not? Why not? Right? Because we are learning to write. We are learning to share our stories. We're learning to write the narrative, right? Because why? Because God has a plan for you, and your stories really do matter. You can really uber pick people up in your story. So, what if let me give you an example of that. What if I were someone who, um, but I'm a real estate investor. So, and you remember in my story how I picked you all up in the story talking about my neighborhood and about the house that we lived in. And I described to you all the hardwood floors and modern appliances of that time. Well, I literally picked up picked up those who are interested in homes, pick them up in the story, because I did actually, even in the story about my childhood, I ended up talking not only about my earliest memories of my parents, but I also described that house. I described the home, the types of appliances, the washing machines. I went into detail about that. So I really could pick someone up in the story if I was making a comparison of houses of old and houses today. So it's really a great thing to begin to learn how your stories can help you have a dynamic conversation when you understand who you're targeting and what you're selling, or when you get through that period of being and doing, being so you can do, and so you can being so you can do and you can have, right? Because you have work to do, right? And when you discover what that work is, then you use your stories to help guide you, help you have conversations with your target audience, and the like. So welcome to Touch One Life, Touch Millions with Dr. Eve, and welcome to my channel. Our discussion for tomorrow is going to be about pets. Pets. We're talking about pets. What pets did you have in your household growing up? And how big a part of your life were they? All right. All right. We will see you all on tomorrow. May you have the most amazing evening. And whatever you do, let no one get in the way on your journey to becoming. Peace and blessings. This is Dr. Eve. And again, you are welcome. Good night.